I grew up in, I guess, the 50s and 60s, but I was in high school in the late 50s. I came from a family of professional lawyer, housewife. My mother was born in Europe, but came when she was a little girl and was very liberal. But my father was not liberal, and they had an interesting way of raising us. They didn't always tell us ahead of time what we were going to be facing. And that was the way I learned many things. It was, don't read the instructions first, just go and do it. And that's the way they sent me off to my first lesson at Juilliard back in 1956 or 7. I think I wasn't even 13 at the time, and I had a cello. I got on the train in Long Beach Station, on the station in New York, and looked for the subway. I was able to find it, okay, and asked a couple of questions about which one went all the way up to Van Cortlandt Park and 242nd Street. Got on, and I remembered that I was supposed to change at 96th Street because otherwise I would end up in the wrong place. Having been there once with my mother, I guess for the audition, I knew it was quite close to the subway, and I was tired and maybe just exhausted from the trip, and I fell asleep on the subway and woke up with a jolt, and I was at 122nd Street and got off. And I realized I was not at Broadway at 122nd, but at Lenox Avenue at 122nd Street, deep in the heart of Harlem. And I got off with my cello and walked to the nearest place that looked like I could get some answers with men drinking midday. And none of them looked familiar to me. So I said, I'm trying to find Columbia University, because I knew that they would know that probably. And I might have asked for Juilliard, and they knew what I was talking about. I might have been speaking another language. Then I said Columbia. They still didn't know. Barnard College, no. And I remembered that Columbia was in Morningside Heights, so I said, Morningside Heights. They said Morningside Park. Oh, Morningside Park, that way. I started to walk, and I was walking towards what they said was the direction of the park. And there was a basketball game in I guess it was a play yard to the left, and many big fellas were playing basketball, and they were staring at me. I could see that, and they were snickering, and they were making comments, and I couldn't really tell what they were saying because I didn't want to hear it. I just wanted to get out of there and keep walking. And I think that at some point I could hear, but I didn't want to look in their direction, some stones, and some names were being said that weren't very nice. And I started to cry. I remember just being terrified and sad and wishing I could find a way out. And I finally could see that there was a staircase. There were stone stairs. And I climbed them with the cello. A very heavy cello at that point, because it wasn't the plastic cases that they have now. I did make it up the park, and then I saw Columbia and knew that I wasn't too far away from Juilliard, and I did finally make it to my teacher's studio late, and red-faced and embarrassed, tired, and collapsed into a chair. Harming myself. I had other experiences of my parents sending me off by myself and finding not planning ahead. They wouldn't say, make sure you have enough money, and if they didn't tell me, I wouldn't, and I would end up in places without any money. And suddenly my wallet was empty. There are these times when they wanted me to have a learning experience, just as I won't fall asleep on the train. I'll check to make sure I know where I'm going. I'll check to make sure I have money. It doesn't mean that I always do it. So I think these experiences where I had to really grapple with a problem were good for me, because it showed me that I wasn't incapacitated. I wasn't paralyzed by whatever.